Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the 2021 annual meeting. Please be seated. The first item on the agenda is to report apologies for absence. Executive Director.
Mr Mayor, I have apologies for absence from Councillors Brader, Miss Dumbleton, McQueen, Mrs New, Roodhouse and Mrs Roodhouse.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to elect the Mayor for the ensuing year. Councillor Eccleston to propose the motion.
Mr Mayor, councillors, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, and those viewing online. I've known Deepa Roberts since she joined Dunchurch Parish Council back in 2008, and she supported me in the role of Vice Chair when I was made Chair there in 2012. Deepa's a very sociable person with a huge smile. She's an extremely family-orientated lady, and she hails from a large Mauritian family where she holds family values and the family unit very close to her heart. Deepa is the firstborn and therefore the big sister of her siblings who are now all over the world. And there were plans today for 12 of her family to be here, but unfortunately due to this pandemic they couldn't travel, which is so hopefully they'll be able to view this online. As I said, family is everything to Deepa. She's fiercely proud of the fact that her parents brought herself and her siblings up as equals. There was no favoritism amongst boys or girls. They were all very much equals. And they were given every opportunity to move forward in whatever they wanted to do. Interestingly enough, Deepa as a Hindu was actually educated by Catholic nuns. And rather interestingly, she said that's given her a good balance of both sides of an equation, and it's probably helped her in life to understand different people's views. Having been educated by Catholic nuns, she decided to perhaps follow the Sisters of Charity organisation in Calcutta, which is where one of her icons, Mother Teresa, was leading that order. She was also very keen to join the VSO, the Voluntary Services Organisation overseas, or Voluntary Service Overseas Organisation, where she was hoping to help poorer and less privileged people. However, she did become a nurse in Mauritius, and she eventually qualified as a nursing officer in the Mauritian Institute of Health. Surprisingly for some here today, I'm sure, she also became the shop steward for the Nurses Union in Mauritius. This was quite a short-lived role because she led a strike and she was actually the only one to walk out. So she wanted to undertake her higher education outside of Mauritius, and she had two choices. One was India and one was the United Kingdom. Well, she actually doesn't like spicy food. Neither does she like venomous snakes. So that was India out, so we were fortunate enough to get her here in the UK. She came to the UK back in 1998 to study at a university in Leicester. She's quite the linguist as well, I found out. That she speaks French, English, Urdu, Hindi and a smattering of German. Yet on arrival at Heathrow Airport, she actually stopped a police officer and said, "Am I really in England? Because I don't understand a word these people are saying." So it's... Deepa met her husband, Howard, at university in Leicester. They actually met in the library, and on their first date, they found out they shared a common love of singing. They were both choristers as children. And on their first date, under the moonlight, Howard was telling her all about the full moon and this, that and the other, not knowing that Deepa is also a big fan of werewolves and vampires. And she spent the whole of the date talking about this. And she does tell me she's a bit of an expert on blood and never misses a vein. So Howard was obviously taken with Deepa, but he was a little confused when he first asked her about what her father did for a living. And she said, oh, unfortunately, or fortunately, my father's in prison in Mauritius. And it was her little joke, because she didn't tell Howard for some time that her father was actually a prison officer, or a senior prison officer in the Mauritian prison service. So that's a little thing she led him into later on in life. When Howard first met Deepa's father, he taught him, or he explained how to kill somebody without leaving any marks on the body. Howard thought this was rather strange, but he took it to mean that if he upset his daughter, then he knew what potentially was coming. They eventually tied the knot in 2003, and Howard was invited to join the family unit in Mauritius. As I said, Deepa both embraces Catholicism and Hindu beliefs, which has an advantage, especially for a lady, I guess, because she now celebrates 2 wedding anniversaries, a Hindu one and her English one, and of course she desires 2 presents, so that's quite important. Today, she's a senior nursing manager in the Imperial College NHS Trust in London, and very much a frontline worker too. She contracted COVID last year, which set it back somewhat for a while, but returned to work after recovering from this dreadful disease. She's told me stories of consultants, porters, other members of managerial staff on the front line who stepped in during the pandemic to take the places of sick members of staff who could no longer attend at the hospital. She also felt like the Queen, she said, on her regular commutes from Rugby to London, London to Rugby. She was very often the only one on the platform at Euston Station apart from the police. So she felt like the Queen, and she said the only thing missing was the red carpet to escort her to walk on to get to the train. And she had the whole carriage to herself as well on the way home. She's a very demanding job, which includes not only managing a department, but she trains and she lectures. This is a good demonstration of her ability and her strength of character and her desire to help and serve people. Deepa comes from a political family in Mauritius. One of her uncles was the former Prime Minister, and her political career started at a very early age, at the age of 10. She told her father that she wanted to build a wall around the capital city of Port Louis to keep people out and stop them from throwing rubbish on the streets. I think a former American president took that idea from her fairly recently. Before becoming a councillor here in Rugby, Deepa was very active in the community in her role in the NHS. As well as a position of Vice Chair at Dunchurch Parish Council, she became an independent councillor in Rugby Borough in 2014, actually gaining more votes than her husband Howard, and he's never forgiven the electorate for that to this day. Those early political ambitions of her childhood haven't wavered. She has a desire that one day to return to Mauritius, and she has her eyes on the role of Minister of Health. But not just Minister of Health, she's got her eyes on the top job as well. She wants to be the Prime Minister of Mauritius, with great ambition. And that ambition is strongly supported by her husband Howard, who has already chosen the beach house and staked out his spot on the sand. And for those of you who are listening, staked out the link back to werewolves. As the mayor here in Rugby, Deepa will represent us in this borough and further afield as we come out of lockdown. That smile, her outgoing personality and that sense of community, that incredible strength will serve us well. She will rise to the challenge and represent this borough with pride. It is with great honour that I move that Councillor Deepa Bridgman Roberts is hereby elected Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Parker to second the motion.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mayor. Deeper. I know how deeply proud you are of the honour bestowed on you today and how much you were looking forward to sharing this with your proud family. And I know that today is not the ceremony you dreamed about when you were first nominated as Rugby's first citizen. And we share with you the disappointment that your loving family cannot travel to share this incredible moment with you. And we cannot welcome them with you to the greatest town and greatest borough in Britain. I also know that the Ben Hall, is no substitute for the marble council chamber next door, the walls resplendent with the faces of previous mayors who have served this borough so well over the years. And I know that we few are no substitute for a chamber filled with familiar faces, friends and family who were all so eager to share this day with you. And I'm so very sorry that we will not get to sample the delicious Mauritius buffet that you had promised to serve us after the ceremony. But as one of nature's sunbeams, you are a truly glass half full person. And I know that you will want us to focus on the positives of this. And I believe that thanks to you and people like you across our great country, we will return to normal life very soon. So let's focus on the good stuff, shall we? Yes, we can't eat that delicious Mauritian feast that you'd planned to serve us. But at least I won't show you up by going up for 3 helpings, clearing the table, and filling a doggy bag to take home to the family. I'm all for. Yes, it's not the day you dreamed about, but being mayor is not about a single day, but a whole year filled with magic that awaits you. 365 days with happy occasions that you will be able to shine. Yes, there's not many of us here, but let's think about the hundreds of people you will meet and the smiles on their faces as you enjoy with them events and celebrations once again. Yes, our fellow councillors and guests can't show you their smiles, but think of the thousands of residents who will beam at you at the events you will enjoy in the months to come. And they in turn will be treated to the brightest smile in the borough. Because as I said 2 years ago, Deepa, you light up every room you enter. Your smile and your jewellery will be a real asset to the borough as you bring your own touch of sparkle after the awful year we've just been through. And you will be joined on this journey with Howard, or David as you call him. And you have at your heart a lasting love of each other, of dogs, and of course of politics. And it's fair to say that you come as a pair. Howard and Deepa, Deepa and Howard, you two are a powerful couple. The Bonnie and Clyde of local politics, a shoot from the hip couple, a powerful and hard-working duo. But Deepa, you are a formidable force in your own right. You are not just Howard's wife. You're a skilled politician, a committed campaigner, a hard-working woman. And I am sure you will one day be called to greater powers than these. So Deepa, I know you will be a terrific mayor. You will certainly be a very glamorous addition to the mayoral chain gang. And I think we can safely say that Rugby really continues the tradition today of electing the most beautiful and handsome mayors. It's no secret that I think you're stunning. And though I have none of the qualities that we do share something in common, a magpie love for all things shiny. The chain you are about to wear will look beautiful on you. I look forward to the many pictures that we will all see of you wearing it across our great borough. But please remember, you're just borrowing it. It belongs to the people of Rugby. You will have to give it back. And thanks to Howard, there's not a lot of room in your jewellery box anyway. Now for the formalities. I second that Councillor Deepa Roberts is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Mayor for the ensuing year. I will say that again for the tape. I move that Councillor Deepa Roberts is hereby appointed Mayor of Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year.
Well done, Lisa.
I'll repeat the motion before the meeting. It is that Councillor Mrs. Deepa Bridgemohan Roberts be and is hereby elected Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Those in favour, say aye. Aye. Those against, say no. The motion is carried unanimously. The new mayor will now be invested with a chain of office. Photographs may be taken.
I, Deepa Bridgemohan Roberts, have been elected to the office of Mayor of Rugby Borough Council. Declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfill the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe Rugby Borough Council Code of Conduct for councillors. Now, I get to talk to all of you until you get tired. First of all, thank you very much, Councillor Peter Eccleston and Lisa Parker, for your wonderful and kind word you said about me. You didn't go to the embarrassing details, so I'm eternally grateful. So I know people are not present here, but I'm sure they are watching online. So I will address the freemen of the borough, former mayors, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour to stand before you for the first time as Mayor of Rugby. I want to begin by paying tribute to my immediate predecessor as Mayor, Councillor Bill Lewis. Bill has occupied the position of Mayor with distinction, undertaking the role in an extended form during the last year when, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, normal rules did not apply. He will be a hard act to follow, but I'll try my best. Indeed, my research suggest Bill is the first mayor of the borough of Rugby since the 1940s to have served a term through 3 calendar years. The last individual to do this was Thomas Lord. Thomas Lord, a Labour councillor, but who also described himself as being a builder's foreman and undertaker in his electoral address. Quite a trio of roles. In researching Thomas Lord, I read that his speeches about his tenure as mayor, someone quoted Rudyard Kipling. Sorry if I don't pronounce it right, but my first language is French. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. This quote was apt for Thomas Lord because he knew that in Rugby, unity, combined purpose is a hallmark of the borough. This togetherness identified in 1949 is very much the central theme of my remarks today. As an aside, the Coventry Evening Telegraph, reporting Thomas Lord's achievement as a mayor in 1949, was next to an article entitled, "Guess what? Give us more houses. Rugby Borough Council urges the government." Well, this shows that some things do change. This article explains the facts of the council meeting, but gives little of the atmosphere there. I'm hoping to catch up with our famous Councillor Gillies when we get out of the hall, as I can get a hands-on account from him. As our famous Councillor Gillies, his knowledge of the past is second to none, demonstrated by his description of how things were in the past in most of his intervention during the council meetings. Now, enough about the past. Let's come back to the present. Standing before you today as the mayor of our borough is quite a surreal experience. Well, who would have imagined this day, as Sir John would have said? I bet if any one of you here place a bet with Ladbroke on me becoming mayor, you would be laughing all the way to the bank now. As a girl born over 10,000 miles or kilometers away on a tiny island known as Mauritius, nestled in the Indian Ocean between Madagascar, or the Malagasy Republic as it's known now, and Australia, as far down as you can get. Any further down is the South Pole. You'd be talking to the penguins. Does not normally have an expectation to become mayor of a famous British town and representing the most quintessentially historic English ward. Here, I must definitely acknowledge those who made these days possible. First of all, my grandparents, who are my Nana, Lochan Olia, and his wife, my nanny, Umati Konai. I know Councillor Mishri and Srivastava will understand that these are my maternal grandma and grandpa, because in Mauritius and India, we call maternal grandpa Nana and maternal grandma Nani. These two remarkable people took a set of 3 orphan nieces and they brought them up as their own. And one of those girls was my mum, is my mum. And whatever I am today, I owe to my grandma and granddad. They are sadly no longer with us, but I know they always watch over the family. they would be beaming with pride watching down from heaven today, sitting together with my brothers, Ashil and Vijay, who left us too soon. Now I definitely have to thank my parents who taught me the rights from the wrongs and instilled the desire to always improve oneself in me. I must really thank my dad for his relentless patience with his know-it-all daughter. He sowed the seeds of politics in my mind from a very, very young age. I was still a toddler and play school girl, but I used to help Dad with banners. He honed my interest in literature and reading. I still miss the discussions we used to have about Shakespeare's and Thomas Harding. I have to point out I'm a very lucky girl, as both Dad and myself studied the same text at school, namely Far from the Madding Crowd. He told me, don't be worried about the boring bit at the beginning of that text, but wait, it gets interesting. And yes, it did. We both were experts, but of course, I never back down and I always win. Now, I did not plan this today, but because of quite a lot of negative reports in the media about the imperial past of Britain, I today am thanking my ancestors who left India and went to Mauritius when the British administration of that time offered them the opportunity. Under the British tutelage, they thrived and flourished, enabling me, their descendant, to stand in front of you. Today, I'm standing in front of you as a Conservative councillor. However, my election to the chamber was an independent councillor. I asked the great people of Dunsmore to elect me because of my idea and what I can do, explaining my background. They backed me over more established candidates, and I'm ever so grateful to them. This acceptance and open-mindedness characterize the country I now call home, and the ward I now proud to represent. The politics of identity became a hot potato in recent years. But those who question our country's ability to adapt to the changing world should take a look at us rugby. I would say I follow quite a few other councillors who become mayor who are not originally from this country. So rugby is great. The diversity and acceptance on display here confirm the truth of Kipling's quote, "The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack." Being elected as an independent councillor had its advantages. It allowed me to see what divides us all in this chamber is far less than what we agree on. We all want a prosperous, safe, and inclusive borough. The service I see in this chamber, I also see in my day job as a nursing practitioner. I'm proud that after the horrors of COVID-19, a nurse by profession is able to become the first citizen of our borough. COVID-19 has taught us the lesson that despite our great progress as human beings, nature can still bring us down to our knees. This is why the theme of my tenure will be respect and protect the environment. Here, I might sound a bit controversial, though I can see the merit of carbon cutting, tree planting, litter picking, etc. I've done it all myself, which, let's be frank, does help us politicians to get a great picture for our leaflet does not go deep enough. I want to consider every aspect of environment, not only nature and saving the planet aspect. Yes, I know we are at a crisis point right now, or some may even say we have reached the point of no return. However, by considering all the different aspects of environment, that is how we can progress, as it will make people change their attitude. Only by changing attitude, we will be able to stop the destruction of our planet. We need to educate our people about simple things they seem to have forgot, such as consider what's happening around them, behave in a way that does not disrespect or cause harm to others, do not inconvenience others. These are the simple values that we need to bring back if we want to save our planet. Without these fundamental changes, it doesn't matter how much legislation we bring, how much bylaws or whatever rules and regulation we will bring, nothing will change. You will continue to get a group of people doing the right thing, while others will just flout the rules and regulations. They will continue to drop litter, fly tipping, inconvenience others around them, abusing the finite resources of this planet at a breakneck speed. I do not have all the answers, but we need to start changing the attitude of our people. I am thinking of educating the population. Not only at school, we are not supposed to only teach the children, but we need to go into communities, into parish council, wherever we can reach people and show them how dangerous not respecting the planet is. I understand that this can sound daunting for a little borough on this planet, but we can become a beacon of excellence in respecting and protecting the environment. Once a beacon is lit, others will see that light and will follow our lead. Remember, if we all work together, we can achieve this. And also remember, we only have one planet. Kepler 22b is still too far, and we still don't have the technology to escape there. Today, I'm proud that I shall share the mayoral duties with my wonderful husband, though he's not looking at me now, Howard. He is my fellow ward councillor, and he always reminds me of that. And he's my county councillor, as he always says. And now my proud consort. I'm looking forward to sharing the experiences of this year with him. However, having a gavel may also enable me to stop his speaking sometimes. Because as we all know, Howard's mantra is, why use one word when 5 will do? To friends watching the live stream, Howard, David, or St. David the Magnificent, as he is known by his mother-in-law, are the same person. I'm not having affairs. This position I now occupy provides me with a platform for me to promote the ideas of togetherness, unity, and acceptance. I will take this opportunity to promote 2 charities I have at heart, which are Rugby for Heroes. They help servicemen and servicewomen transitioning to civilian life. And we all know sometimes it can be very distressing and difficult for people who've had life in service, who is seen active duty, to transit to normal life. And thankfully, and I'm really grateful for this charity who provide them financial support, provide them training to overcome these problems. I have seen how devastating it can be for ex-servicemen and women through my profession as a nurse. And the other charity I will support is a guide dogs training center in Leamington Spa. I will urge you to go to their website and read about the great work they are doing and support them by donating to their fund. I do not want to stand here and talk in detail about what they do, as I have already spoken for a while and is at risk of adopting Howard's mantra. I cannot wait to get stuck in and hope all will remember over my mayoral year that in this chamber, as with the rest of the borough, the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. As Donald will say, let's make rugby great. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Oops.
The next item on the agenda is to appoint a deputy mayor for the ensuing year. Councillor Mrs. Parker to propose the motion, and Councillor Mahoney to second the motion.
Madam Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, unaccustomed as I am to public speaking, couldn't resist that. I know you're all sick of my voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Chris, my dear Chris, what can I say? It gives me so much pleasure to propose you as Deputy Mayor today. When I met you more than 10 years ago in your role with Neighbourhood Watch, I thought then immediately that you would make a great councillor. And as always, I've been proved right. And I'm equally as sure that you will make a fantastic mayor. In those years since we met, we've become firm friends, and I'm genuinely delighted for you to receive this honour today, because I know how deeply honoured you are to be chosen as our deputy mayor. You recognise that, and you don't take this role lightly. In fact, there can be no greater compliment to our previous mayors, several with us today, that councillors are still so proud and keen to be nominated for this honour. It's testament to the hard work and dedication of those previous mayors that this appointment continues to be the highest honour we can bestow. Now, I promised you I wouldn't get smushy, but as many of you may know, a couple of years ago, Chris had quite a serious health scare, and it was a few dark days for all those of us who care so deeply about us. And I know how hard you have worked to get back to better health, and the support you have from our darling Kath in doing that. And I know that the next year as Deputy to Deeper, and then the following as Mayor, will be exhausting work, but incredible fun for you. And we can look forward to many fun events. And although lunch at Wetherspoons, which has always been our go-to lunch date to put the world to rights for a fiver, will be put on hold for a bit, I look forward to wine and hors d'oeuvres on you in the chamber and the parlour. Now, many of us know Chris as somebody with a really quick wit. He's always contributing to discussions. He's always got something to say. But he's a sensible pair of hands in committee, as chair of licensing, and in the chamber. And we know that you will bring those qualities as deputy mayor. He's also one of the most sensible people I know. And he always gives the very best advice. And my favourite bit of advice from Chris that he tells me all the time is, Lisa, if you don't know what to do, do nothing. And though I think probably now he's wishing that he'd substituted the word do for say, because he always says I say too much and I don't know when to stop. So although we can't eat, drink and be merry together today, I know you would want me to thank all the previous mayors who would normally join us to make this the best day in the council year so special. And Deepa, I know how faithfully Chris will support you this year. And in a year's time, he'll be proud to take that chain on his own shoulders. So, mate, we've sat together in the Council's chamber for many years. I will miss you sitting next to me, but you are called to a higher station, and I will watch with continued affection and pride as you look down on me and all of us. And I know that Julie would also want me to share her congratulations as we have a Bilton councillor joining the chain gang. So, Chris, you're my fellow councillor. I'm proud to call you that. I'm even prouder to call you my friend. And today I'm very proud to call you Mr. Deputy Mayor. And now for the formalities. I move that Councillor Chris Cade be and is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Lisa.
Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, you'll be assured, well, I was going to say, pleased that Chris has given me instructions to keep my speech very brief. So thanks, Chris. I am pleased and I've got to say a bit surprised to have been asked to second this motion to appoint Chris as Deputy Mayor. I've known Chris since he joined the Council in 2014 when he was my Vice Chair when I chaired the Appeals Committee, and he's been a staunch member of the scrutiny committees since then as well. Before Chris joined the Council, I know that he's been active in the Pavilions Residents Association, New Bilton Community Association and Rugby Neighbourhood Watch, and all this despite having only lived in rugby since 2007. So a bit of a newcomer there, Chris.
Thanks.
My experience with Chris tells me that he will provide sterling support to our newly elected Mayor in the coming year and will be equally competent when his time comes to don the mayoral chain of office. I'll go on to the formal bit, which is I second that Councillor Chris Cade be and is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Tom.
The motion before this meeting is that Councillor Chris Cade be and is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. The motion is carried unanimously.
So I've got a declaration here. I, Christopher Cade, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Rugby Borough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe Rugby Borough Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors, and I now sign that. Esteemed guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, those watching online, I just checked my brief and it said the Deputy Mayor's brief acknowledgement, so I shall live by that. I'm very pleased and proud to have this opportunity. As colleagues have said, I will do it to the best of my ability. and certainly to provide the best support I can to our new mayor, because I'm the spare. And I think I'll end there. Thank you very much.
The next item of business is a vote of thanks to the retiring mayor, Councillor William H. Lewis. Councillor Douglas to propose the motion, and Councillor Mrs. Alanak to second the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayor. Distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I move that the council place on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring mayor, Councillor William H. Lewis, has presided over the council during the past 2 years, and he be thanked for his services to the borough. It's a great honour to speak today for my friend and colleague, Councillor Bill Lewis. As many of you will know, Bill is a proud Welshman, rugby mad, both the town and the game, and always on hand to discuss the finer details of recycling, roads, bridges, and anything related to civil engineering. But on a more serious note, the role of civic mayor is to carry out ceremonial duties and chair the full council meetings. It is fair to say that Bill has done this with great vigour and dedication, supported by his wife, the Mayoress Sue Lewis. Due to the coronavirus pandemic and the subsequent cancellation of the 2020 annual council meeting, Bill's term of office was extended until May this year. Now, over the past 2 years, Bill has met a wide range of residents, groups and organisations, both online and offline. And some of these include inviting young carers from across the borough to the town hall and praising them for what they do, being a judge for St Andrew's Church's Festival of Christmas Trees, which raises money for good causes, joining Rugby Dementia Support online for regular music sessions, leading the tributes for the passing of Prince Philip, as well as thanking all staff and volunteers at Lock House Vaccination Centre. During his mayoral term, Bill has supported Rugby Dementia Support, Rugby Autism Network and New Directions. I'm sure you will all agree it was fitting to see Bill this week unveil the Yarn Bond colourful makeover of the iconic Webb Ellis Cup sculpture outside Rugby School to mark Dementia Action Week. And finally, Bill's choice of respect as a theme of his term of office has been really poignant in the challenging period that we've all faced, and I hope this will continue in the years ahead.
Lady Mayoress, distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I second that the council place on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring mayor, Councillor William H. Lewis, has presided over the council during the past 2 years, and he be thanked for his services to the borough. I'm very happy to second the motion that this council should give thanks to the outgoing mayor, Councillor Bill Lewis, for his unstinting dedication to the role. In my 7 years on the council, I have observed no less than 9 mayors. Before Bill, we had councillors Roodhouse, Mistry, Shields, Wright, Franklin, Lane, Mahoney and the late Ray Kirby. None have had to deal with the unique set of circumstances that Bill has faced. As 2020 dawned, Bill and his wife Sue were doubtless beginning to look forward to things getting back to normal. It was not to be. In January, the World Health Organization declared a pandemic,
and in March we entered our first national lockdown. Unlike some of our neighbouring local authorities, like Warwick District Council, we decided not to hold an annual meeting, but rather keep the Mayor's nose to the grindstone. Bill has borne the burden of an extra 12 months in office with fortitude and dedication to the welfare of our borough. Now, it's not the right thing to do to declare one's age. I'm having a significant birthday this year, and I trust I'm not revealing too many secrets when I say that Bill has already passed that milestone. Bill and I grew up in a pre-digital age. I first used a computer in 1990. There were no icons then, it was WordPerfect, as some of you may remember. The last time I was on the council, all our business was on paper, and at the end of the year, we were presented with a bound set of the council's minutes. Teams was your favourite football club. If I'd been told I was on mute, I might have looked round to see if I was sitting on my granddaughter's doll. I found it difficult to participate in our online meetings, and I can only guess at the challenges Bill faced and has surmounted in keeping us all in order. A significant part of the leadership role of the Mayor is involved in advancing community cohesion and promoting civic awareness. As a principal citizen, the Mayor gives recognition, appreciation and encouragement to all those groups and individuals who contribute to the life of the borough. This is a role that Bill is particularly suited to, and one he has fulfilled admirably. It's a long tradition of this council that we give thanks to our outgoing Mayor, and I am pleased to have been given the opportunity to do so.
The motion before the meeting is that the Council places on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring Mayor, Councillor William H. Lewis, has presided over the Council during the past 2 years, and he be thanked for his service to the borough. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. The motion is carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. I've got a speech prepared, but quite a lot of it has already been said. So I'm not very good at last-minute editing, so I hope you'll put up with this for the moment. Madam Mayor, distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Councillor Douglas and Councillor Mrs. Alanak, for your proposal and seconding of a vote of thanks for retiring Mayor. Thank you both for your very kind comments. Thank you to all the members here today for passing the motion. I was afraid I might have heard a no, but there we are. I've been encouraged to make my contribution today a brief one. I will try my best to review a 2-year term plus a year as Deputy Mayor in as short a time as possible. But it means that there will be lots I will have to leave out. Perhaps I should prepare an extended play version. EPs, you remember those? Yeah. I have 2 guests here today. Paul Tolley is CEO of New Directions, sitting at the back there. And he's here representing the Mayor's 3 charities: Rugby Autism Network, Rugby Dementia Support, and New Directions. The restrictions introduced to limit the spread of the coronavirus have greatly affected the combined activities that we had planned for 2019 and 2020. But we intend to continue to work together in the future for the benefit of all 3 charities. Also here is the Mayor's Cadet, Marine Cadet Sergeant Caitlin Hendon. Did I get that right? of the Rugby Sea Cadets and the Royal Marine Cadets. I think Caitlin is the best dressed person here today, apart from the Mayor, of course. Caitlin has accompanied the Mayoress and me on many occasions. She's always been a credit to her uniform. She's made a special effort to be here today, as she has a school examination assessment this afternoon. She may have to leave before the end of the meeting. Not only that, but she passed her driving test yesterday. So well done for that. Caitlin will receive an engraved glass jade award from the Council to acknowledge her time as Mayor's Cadet and a framed certificate from the Mayoress and me. In May 2019, you elected me as Mayor of Rugby for the 2019-20 municipal year. I said then that it was a huge honour for me and an enormous responsibility too, and that I looked forward to it with some trepidation. That was without knowing what was to come. There was not even an inkling at the time that the one-year term in office would become 2 years under vastly different conditions. The last 2 months of the first year and almost the whole of the second year have significantly been affected by the safeguards brought in to combat the coronavirus pandemic. It's not been possible to use the Mayor's Parlour to entertain guests since the 16th of March 2020. I visited the Parlour on the 17th of March, the following day, and the next time we were able to visit it was the 26th of April 2021, over a year later. When lockdown started in March 2020, all mayoral engagements that should have taken place in the final 2 months of the 2019-20 civic year were cancelled. We had hoped that the lockdown would not last long and that we could make up for the lost time during the second civic year, but that was not to be possible. We had a few outdoor mayoral engagements when the restrictions were eased a little in the summer of 2020, but all the usual civic and Christmas in-person events were cancelled. More recently, invitations to appear in person have begun to come in, which is a good sign for Councillor Mrs Roberts' term in office. Another effect of the lockdown period is that we had to get used to new ways of communicating. The use of Teams and Zoom has become commonplace, although some of us still have difficulty using the raise hand function. During my term in office, there have been a total of 19 council meetings. 8 were held in the council chamber, and 2 mock meetings were held using Teams. And then there were 9 full meetings held using Teams and live streamed. In general, they've been held in a respectful way that accords with the theme of respect that I chose for my term of office. The coronavirus pandemic has generated many volunteer organisations and individuals to help the community in lots of different ways, such as at the vaccination and testing centres. Thursday clapping showed the NHS nurses, doctors and other staff that what they were doing was appreciated. Then other frontline workers were included in the thanks, like the council bin men, who worked on during the most dangerous time of the pandemic. Many other council officers and staff also went the extra mile to ensure that those in danger because of lack of accommodation or sustenance were catered for. As Mayor, I thank them, everyone. It's right and fitting that the council is considering a memorial for all those who have died as a result of the virus. I believe that the memorial should also recognise those persons who have recovered from the virus but are suffering the long-term effects. The first 10 months of our term as Mayor and Mayoress was eventful, with far too many exciting engagements to describe here today. Some of them have been mentioned by the proposer and seconder. There were disappointments as well, but not less go into those today. The Mayor has a number of honorary positions as President, Vice President or member of various organisations, such as Rugby Male Voice Choir. They do sing some really good Welsh tunes. And the Bradby Club for Young People. Given a new position when I was invited to be a member of the Rugby Rockerby Lions, with that position to be offered to all succeeding mayors. The high point for me of that was when in December I exchanged the mayoral red robe for a seasonal red robe and a large white beard to visit Rugby Primary School on a sleigh pulled by reindeer. I won't mention the name in case there's some youngsters here who still believe in the position. That was magic. During my term in office, I've had incredible support from 4 different mayoral secretaries. That's a record as well, I think. I thank Amanda, Veronica, Lynn, and now Daksha, together with the whole Democratic Services team, for the help and assistance they provided and their understanding and patience. The Mayoress and I worked closely with the mace carrier, photographer, and occasional chauffeur, Kevin, multitasking, and the town hall superintendents, Paul, Robert, and Richard. I relied a lot on advice from the executive director, Adam in my first year, and now Manny, and also from Aftab, especially advice during council meetings. The information team helped me as much as they could, given how busy they have been in recent times. Among other things, Matthew provided up-to-date information for the Mayor's announcements on the COVID situation and micro press releases from major mayoral activities. I also thank my colleague councillors for their forbearance during the last 2 years when I have been drawn away on mayoral matters. I thank the Mayoress, my wife Sue, for her support during my 3 years as Deputy Mayor and Mayor. That's all I have to say. It's possible that I've forgotten to say something or mention someone, so if that's you, please accept my apologies. I wish Councillor Mrs Roberts and Councillor Cade well for their terms of office as Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Diolch yn fawr am achredifyd fel Mayor Rugby am ail y flwyddyn. I'm sure you all understood that, but just in case, thank you very much for retaining me as Mayor of Rugby for a second year.
The next item of business is a vote of thanks to retiring councillors, Mrs Bragg, Councillor Brown, Councillor Butlin, Cranham, Lee Hunt, Pacey Day and Stokes. The motion before the meeting is the Council places on record its appreciation of the contribution which retiring councillors Mrs Bragg, Brown, Butlin, Cranham, Lee Hunt, Pacey Day and Stokes made during their service as member of the Borough Council. Councillor Lowe will propose the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you to those who have reminded me to remove my marks, Councillor Paul. Madam Mayor, councillors, honoured guests, before I turn to the topic of the retiring councillors, I would like to offer my own congratulations to Councillor Mrs Roberts on her election as Mayor. Madam Mayor, I have no doubt that you will make a fantastic first citizen of this borough, and I look forward to working with you. I would also like to add my own thanks to Councillor Lewis for his service as Mayor over 2 undoubtedly extremely challenging years. Councillor Lewis, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Turning now to the question of the retiring councillors, it should be said from the outset that we have an unusually large number of retiring councillors this year. And so, in the interest of time, I will keep my remarks relatively brief. I will start with Kieran Brown, who is no longer a member of this council after 5 years of dedicated service as a member for Newbold and Brownsover. Kieran was a valued member of the planning and scrutiny committees, and someone who I know that councillors from all parties, including myself, have thoroughly enjoyed working with. He was, as members will recall, a tireless campaigner for the disabled, and I'm sure I cannot be the only member here to have learned a huge amount from Kieran Brown during his time as a member of this council. I fully hope and expect that he will continue his excellent campaigning work on this and on many other issues. On a personal note, I will add that having had a beer with Kieran at the pub over the way, I can also verify he is a thoroughly decent and highly entertaining fella, whose company, despite our political differences, I have always enjoyed. And I know that he will not be a stranger to this council, and I very much look forward to continuing to work with him. Admirals and Corston Ward uniquely saw 2 of its representatives of the Borough Council stand down, Peter Butlin and Mike Stokes. Mike served as a councillor here for 15 years, including 5 years as leader of the council and leader of the Conservative group. He served with distinction as chair and vice chair of the Licensing and Safety Committee. He was and remains very passionate about this town and this council, and I'm sure that all members here will join me in wishing Mike all the very best. Peter Butlin served as a Rugby Borough Councillor for 17 years, including as chair of the Planning Committee. Peter has always been one of this borough's most passionate champions, committed to promoting sustainable growth and infrastructure, notably Rugby Parkway Station. Peter remains as Deputy Leader of Warwickshire County Council, and on this basis I know that he will continue to be a strong voice for rugby, even though he is no longer a member of this council. I move now to Sally Bragg, who has retired as Borough Councillor for Woolston and the Lawfords after 15 years of service. Sally served as a member of Cabinet across 3 different portfolios, and with distinction as Vice Chair of Licensing and Safety. Sally was a hugely popular member of this council, about whom there are too many anecdotes from which to choose. So, seeking inspiration on what to say about Sally, I spoke to her fellow ward councillor, Derek Poole, to seek his opinion on what we could say to sum up Sally's 15 years of service. Derek provided me with a rich theme of anecdotes involving hedge trimming, litter picking, parish council meetings, whole manner of different forms of public service. All of this points to a dedicated and reliable councillor, public servant and friend. Someone committed to doing her very best for the people of her ward and for the wider borough. Sally was and is someone who knew how to enjoy life, and her sense of humour and integrity will be missed by all councillors and officers of this council. We're also saying goodbye to Lee Hunt after 17 years as a Rugby Borough Councillor, 9 of which was spent as a member of Cabinet. Lee was well known in this chamber for her formidable intellect, highly combative personality, which I mean with a smile on my face, and powerful oratory. She will always be remembered as a tireless champion for the people of Clifton, Newton and Churchover, vociferously guarding their interests within this chamber and beyond. Lee has now decided to focus on her full-time career. However, I have absolutely no doubt that she will continue to play an active role in the life of the Borough of Rugby, and I wish her all the very best in doing so. We also see the departure of David Cranham, who served 2 separate stints as a Rugby Borough Councillor, spanning 15 years, including a year on Cabinet. David also served with distinction as Vice Chair of Planning, Vice Chair of the Brook Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and Vice Chair of Appeals. To share a personal anecdote, David was in fact the first Rugby Borough Councillor that I ever met many, many years ago when I was introduced to him by my then wife, or my now wife I should say, at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. As I recall, I bought him a pint, and I am still waiting for him to return the favour. Prior to his election as a councillor, David had a phenomenally successful business career, about which he's always been extremely modest. I once asked David, as a matter of curiosity, about his life before he became a councillor, and was rewarded with one of the most fascinating conversations of my entire life. David will be sorely missed within this council for his level head, dry wit, and pragmatic approach. And finally, I turn to Chris Pacey-Day, whose retirement caught everyone, including me, by surprise. Chris was first elected as a councillor in Rugby in 1966, before Rugby Borough Council even existed, and represented several wards within the town and broader countryside for over 50 years. 50 years of dedicated public service. He was and remains a tireless campaigner for rural communities, for good governance, and for decency in public life. I will always remember Chris fondly because on my own first full council meeting, when I walked into the chamber for the first time, not knowing what to do or where to sit, Chris had saved me a seat. And I thought then, and I still think, it was an extremely kind and thoughtful gesture which typified the outlook of a man who will always be one of life's gentlemen. As members will be aware, Chris is full-time carer to his wife Sylvia, herself a very prominent and nationally famous figure in the world of ballet, and he's taken the decision to focus his time on caring for his wife. I will miss Chris as a member of this council and as a member of the Conservative group. However, respect his decision to stand down and recognise, I'm sure we all will, that he's taken the decision that is right for himself and for Sylvia. And I'm sure members from all parties will join me in wishing Chris and Sylvia all the best for their retirement. So, Madam Mayor, some long-standing, much respected councillors have left this chamber, and I know that each and every one of them has made a valued contribution to the life of this borough, and I'm sure that all of us here will join me in voting for this motion to wish them all the best. And so to the formalities. Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I move that the council places on record its appreciation of the contribution which retiring councillors Sally Bragg, Kieran Brown, Peter Butlin, Dave Cranham, Lee Hunt, Chris Pacey-Day and Michael Stokes made during their service as members of the borough.
Who will second the motion?
Congratulations, Madam Mayor. Congratulations, Deputy Mayor. And have a good rest,
Commiserations.
Bill. Have a good rest. Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests. It's a great honour for me to second the vote of thanks today for all of our retiring councillors. I will start by thanking them all, and particularly many of them. I think it's important for me, I've worked with them for so long. For many of them, I've worked with them for years and years and years. I've worked with them very closely. I have to say it's been both a privilege and a pleasure to do so. I think we would all agree that this council will be losing a huge amount of knowledge, experience, and all those councillors have brought to us for all the years that they've been here. Just absolutely tremendous. I think I have actually worked with every single one of them. Lee sort of was absolutely amazing in terms of the way she would manage things and finishing on time and always delivering what she needed to do and keeping people focused. I've worked with Sally. Sally is absolutely brilliant on the detail, never misses anything at all. And I worked with her as well as a county councillor up in Long Lawford, where we set up a partnership group up there to support the local community. And it was a real pleasure working with her. Obviously, I've worked with Peter Butlin both here and at the County Council, and I know he's got a very keen eye for the finances, and he's really, really enjoyed doing that work at the County Council. Wish him all the best there. He'll be very busy, I'm sure. Councillor Pacey Day, very quiet, very, very caring individual. Not spent so much time working with him, but again, I know he's very committed to the role that he sort of undertook. And Dave Crammon, I mean, Dave is such a sweet gentleman, such a nice person, a very caring person. He's always got time for everybody. You know, he's always there to say hello. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, I think we're really going to miss all of these people. They have got so much to offer and they've made a huge contribution. It's going to be a really hard act for a lot of you to follow because there was so much experience there. And it's a bit sad that there are so many going. I just wanted, again, to speak briefly about Councillor Kieran Brown, who I spoke to recently about his own experience as a local councillor. He told me that it had been the greatest thrill of his life to serve the local community he represented as a Rugby Borough councillor. He said, I never imagined for one moment that I could ever be a councillor in the first place. Kieran was born with cerebral palsy, and although he has faced many challenges over the years, he's achieved so much. He's achieved so much academically and raised awareness of accessibility issues and hate crime experienced by people with disabilities. Kieran has championed those issues and those causes, and he's been an inspiration to those with a disability thinking about getting involved in local politics. So thank you, Kieran, for being that positive role model. So it gives me great pleasure to actually do the formal bit now and to second Councillor Lowe in thanks to the retiring councillor. So I second that the council places on record its appreciation of the contribution made by the retiring councillors Sally Bragg, Kieran Brown, Peter Butlin, Dave Crammon, Lee Hunt, Chris Pacey Day, Michael Stokes, and yes, that's everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favour say aye.
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 Those against say no. The motion is carried unanimously. Item 6 on the agenda is the Mayor's announcement, and I have no announcement. Item number 7. The next item is to receive the report of the returning officer of the Borough Council election held on the 6th of May 2021. Executive Director.
Madam Mayor, the report of the returning officer has been circulated to all members with the agenda. It gives details of the votes cast for each candidate in the wards contested and indicates the candidates elected who have made a declaration of acceptance of office.
I will now invite all the new councillors to stand, please. New councillors. Okay. I extend a very warm welcome to Councillors Daly, Mrs. Hassel, Rabin, Miss Watson-Merritt, Williams and Willis, I hope that you will find your time on the council rewarding. Thank you. Mrs. The next item of business is to receive the Executive Director's report concerning the constitutional arrangement and allocation of seats to party groups for the 2021-2022 municipal year, which has been circulated separately to all members. I move the adoption of the report of the Executive Director. Who will second the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I shall now put the motion to the meeting. I would remind you that if there is any dissent, the motion cannot be adopted. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. If there is no dissent, the motion is carried without dissent. As there has been dissent, we move on to item 9 now. The next item of business is to receive the report of Executive Director concerning appointment to outside bodies by virtue of office and other miscellaneous appointment. Councillor Lowe, will you as leader of the council move the adoption of the report on appointment of outside body by virtue of office and other miscellaneous appointments?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I so move.
Who will second the motion?
I will, Madam Mayor.
I shall now put to the meeting the motion for confirmation and adoption of the report of the Executive Director concerning appointment to outside bodies by virtue of office and other miscellaneous appointment. Those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against say no. The motion is carried. Meetings of committees will now take place. These meetings will take a short time, and I should be grateful if guests would remain seated for a few minutes whilst these take place. I call upon all members of the Scrutiny Committee to stand. Is there a nomination for Chair of Scrutiny Committee?
Madam Mayor, I would like to nominate Councillor Peter Eccleston as Chairman of the Scrutiny Committee.
Is there a seconder for this motion, nomination? Thank you. Are there any further nominations? No? All those in favour of Councillor Peter Eccleston say aye or show their hand. Thank you. Anyone against? No. I declare that Councillor Peter Eccleston be elected as Chair of the Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Peter Eccleston will now seek nomination for a Vice Chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My nomination for Vice Chair is Councillor Tony Gillies.
I'm happy to second that nomination, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Those in favour, please show your hands. Thank you. Anybody against? No? So, Councillor Gillies, you are now the Vice Chair of the committee. Thank you. You may be seated now. I call upon all members of the Licensing and Safety Committee to stand. Is there a nomination for chairman of the Licensing and Safety Committee?
Madam Mayor, as the outgoing chair of the Licensing and Safety Committee, I would like to nominate Councillor Julia Barrow.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this nomination? Thank you. Are there any further nominations? No? All those in favour of Councillor Barrow to be the chair of Licensing and Safety Committee, please show your hand. Anybody against? Thank you. I declare that Councillor Barrow be elected as chair of the Licensing and Safety Committee. Thank you. Councillor Barrow will now seek nomination for vice chairman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. From the chair, I would like to nominate Councillor Chris Cade as vice chair.
Is there any second? Thank you. Thank you. All those in favour, can I have a show of hand, please? Thank you. Councillor Cade, you're now the Vice Chair of Licensing and Safety Committee. Thank you. Please be seated. I call upon all members of the Planning Committee to stand. Is there a nomination for Chair of Planning Committee?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to nominate Councillor Ian Picker as the chairman of the planning committee.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this nomination?
Madam Chair, I'd like to second the nomination.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations? No? Can I have a show of hand for...
Councillor Picker.
Thank you. Councillor Picker, you're now the Chair of Planning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Picker will now seek nomination for the Vice Chair of the committee.
From the chair, I would like to nominate Councillor Gillies. Second.
Is there a seconder for the nomination of Councillor Gillies? Thank you, Councillor Sanderson. Can I have a show of hand for this nomination? Thank you. Anybody against? No? Councillor Gillies, you're now Vice Chair of the Planning Committee. Thank you. You may be seated. That concludes this item of business. Thank you all for your cooperation and attendance today. Thank you. Goodbye.